Hmm. Boy, we're going to have a real interesting conversation here. I'm curious just to how this is going to work, because since I don't have any beliefs at all, I'm not sure how well this whole program is going to work on me.
Yeah. Um, well, we've already done one SE conversation, and that was we examined the claim that our language machine affects our behavior and stress level.
Yeah, fair enough.
Um, I don't know. I mean, I think you said before that you don't really go back and listen to
No,
stuff.
no, I don't.
I did make a video of that. It is on my YouTube channel, and it's got captions. And when I was using uh, uh, recommended aspects of SE, and they kind of come up, and like
Yeah,
where we built rapport, and where I got consent, and where I was asking for clarification, and you know,
yeah.
um,
Okay.
kind of
Well,
shows
you've got a
things.
standard procedure that works, and yeah. So I'm interested in just playing with you and
Cool.
seeing, because who knows, I might even learn something here. You know?
Well, it's nice to be open to that. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Well, I've been giving it some thought since we talked,
Hmm.
and so I do have I can list my assumptions, although like I say, I don't actually believe them. They're just the best stories I've been able to make up, and I can do that, and we can go with that. Anyway, listen, it's your game, so let's just go with whatever you want to go with, and I'm
Okay.
ready for that.
Well, we also have the option of uh, exploring the SE survey. Have you ever heard of the SE survey?
No.
Okay. It was developed a while back based on a bunch of tweets that some practitioners would tweet out. And it's got 24 statements. And the idea is we go through it and you give a level of how much you agree or disagree with the statement.
Oh, okay.
Um, and that kind of helps generate the conversation too. Like if somebody doesn't really know what to talk about, it kind of gets the gears going in the brain.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
Um, and I can, I mean, I can just start at the top. The only thing is that these statements have words in it um, that I've gathered from you are problematic, which that could add to the conversation itself.
Yeah, that could be.
Um,
Sure.
so do you want an example of one?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, this survey it examines how we think about truth.
Well, we got a problem right away, but
Yeah, yeah. So the first
let's
statement,
go on.
the first statement, and the choices are, and we can do this however is best, but it's basically like strongly disagree, agree, or I mean, strongly disagree, disagree, neutral, agree, and
Yeah.
strongly agree, that
I
kind
think
of thing.
I've seen you do some one-on-ones with some guy from England, right? You guys should
Yes,
there's some
yeah.
procedure for that, right?
that's the survey. So
Okay.
we've already filmed everything. We filmed everything over a course of 2 days, and we've been editing and uploading them as separate episodes.
Yeah,
One
because I've
one
seen some
statement.
of them. Okay. Yeah.
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 So the first statement is a statement is true when it corresponds to reality.
Yeah. Right. Well, of course, reality. I find that word problematic. I mean, I really do. The whole assumption that there is something out there, some objective reality, the
Hmm.
way it is, that's causing me to have these perceptions that I have. And so, to me, the word reality simply means whatever it is I'm experiencing. I mean, even if I'm experiencing bugs crawling all over my body or something, uh, if I'm experiencing that, well, that's real enough for me. Whether
Okay.
it's a hallucination or not is irrelevant.
Right. So, can would you say that bugs crawling on someone on the other side of the planet is also reality, whether you're aware of it or not?
Um, Let me think about that. Well, if I don't even know how I could have an opinion on something I'm unaware of.
Does reality require a mind?
Hmm. Boy, we're going to have a real interesting conversation here.
This is what I like. I like doing this.
Oh, and I suppose almost when you're talking to almost everybody else, everybody has answers for these things, don't they? I'm just
Y-
stopped by the questions. A mind. Well, let me try and answer. So, what was the last question? Does something? What is it that
Does re
requires?
yeah, does reality require a mind?
Does reality require a mind? Well, I guess by my definition, yeah. Well, yeah. Without getting picky about what we define these terms in, I'd say yes. Okay. I can see one way of it. Yeah, the idea that there's something out there, even if there's no, does it if a tree falls in the forest, that kind of stuff. Uh, so
Yeah,
by my definition, I guess sort of, yeah, yeah. I could say, yeah, reality does require a mind.
reality requires a mind. Okay.
But maybe not necessarily, like the tree in the forest thing, even if they say there's nobody there to hear it, well, there are a bunch of birds and squirrels and bugs out there, and they get to hear it. So,
Yeah, but those are minds, right?
yeah,
Those
right.
are
Yeah,
brains.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
right. Um, Before there were brains on the earth,
Yeah.
is it would you call
Yeah,
that reality, like pre-human?
yeah, yeah. Before there was any, yeah, when the earth was just a molten rock. Uh,
Hmm.
well, see, again, that's all part of a story. The story of science, which is a good story, and I accept that story under most circumstances. But when you get philosophical about it,
Hmm.
I start to get queasy. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I mean, just as a simple answer, I could say, well, of course, yeah, there was Earth, and it was molten, and there were no living beings on it, but it was floating around out in space, and that's all part of the standard story of science, and I accept that on a sort of superficial level that's a pretty good story. But ultimately, like I say, I would have to question that. But but for the now, let's just say, okay, yeah, there was an Earth before there were humans on it or anything alive on it, but it was still out there floating around molten.
Hmm. Would you say that is an example of reality happening without a mind?
No, because I have my big, the religion that I created for myself, that all of everything is in the mind of Bob, if you will.
Hmm.
And, so that even before I mean, in order for that to exist in any meaningful way, whatever the word exist means, is that it all exists in the mind of Bob. And again, this is, I don't believe this. It's just the best story I've been able to make up, and I like it.
Hmm. Okay, so I guess I'm just trying to figure out where you draw the line between reality that requires a mind and a reality
Yeah.
that doesn't.
Um, well, again, this whole concept of reality I find very problematic,
Right.
whether it requires a mind or not. It's we talked about reifications before. There's certain kinds of nouns.
That's one
Uh,
of the five stupidities.
yeah, yeah, reification, and reality is a primary reification.
Right, because you can't put it in a bucket, right?
Yeah, and
Something
there's
like that.
well, you are really good at this stuff, man. You've got all my words better than I do almost. Yeah, yeah. Reality is, like I say, to me, the only thing the word reality can mean meaningfully is whatever I'm experiencing at this moment, through
Hmm.
my dozen or so senses. There's all sorts of stuff that's apparently going on, and there is an experience of what's going on. And to me, that is the only thing that the word reality can refer to.
So there's this experience of having a story that describes what the universe was like before there were minds.
Yeah, it's a story. It's a good
Okay,
story.
right. So do you, I assume that you understand what the statement is kind of pointing to, right? Like I'll say it again. A statement is true when it corresponds to reality. I
Yeah,
guess my question is, what word would you replace reality with that would make that statement a little bit easier
yeah,
for you?
yeah. Well, both true and reality are problematic. I'm thinking in sort of practical terms, it's not a problem. Like in court proceedings, like in a murder trial or something.
Uh-huh.
Uh, that's not very philosophical. You get a bunch of people who saw somebody do something, they bring in evidence and so on, and they find somebody guilty or not guilty,
Hmm.
and that's not philosophically problematic, I don't think.
Yeah,
It
because it's
it's
based
just
on evidence, right?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But when you get into these abstract realms like we're talking about,
You're gone. I can't hear
you
you.
can't hear. I've been having problems.
Now you're back.
Yeah, I've been having problems with audio recently, and I'm not quite sure what it is. I've explored all sorts of things, and anyway, yeah, and I've been losing other people's audio, but I'm not losing yours. You've been coming through.
Hmm.
So this
Well,
may
if
happen
you
again.
need to test anything, I can kind of be a guinea pig for what
Well, I've
if you
tried
need.
everything already. I mean, I only discovered this in the last day or two. I shut down my computer. I trashed Clubhouse and reinstalled it. Uh, I've done everything I know. I don't know if you got any other suggestions into what I can do.
I wonder if it has anything. It can't have anything to do with the recording process, could it?
No, because the recording is on my phone, which is lying next to my iPad, and you and I are talking on my iPad.
Hmm.
So there's no recording. I'm not doing any, and I've had this problem, like I say, for the last couple of days.
Huh.
I'm not sure what it is, and I've got a good, strong Wi-Fi connection here. That's not a problem.
What's your, are you using any like a headset or earbuds or anything like that, or is it just
No,
straight?
no, it's just straight out of the speakers.
Huh.
Well,
Yeah,
let's
I
just
don't
go
know.
on, and we can and if something gets dropped, I'll just repeat it,
Okay.
and inevitably this is always intermittent. So I mean, I'm not gonna disappear forever. I assume. Yeah. We can just re-record anything that gets dropped out. Then you'll have a whole bunch of editing to do.
Yeah, that's always fun.
Yeah, right.
Um, yeah, so you were saying something about the words true and reality being problematic, but not in a court case necessarily.
Yeah, in some cases it's trivial. I mean, we just say it. Did he show up at 9 o'clock? Is that true? Yes, he did. You know, but like I say, in these sort of abstract philosophical realms, this whole idea of true and real and all that stuff gets pretty tricky.
Hmm. Well, it would you say that we have sufficient evidence that the universe existed before minds came around?
Evidence. I don't really need evidence for that. That seems, well, like I say, I accept more or less, the scientific understanding that we've arrived at. Um, so, um,
Well, the reason why I ask is because if it makes sense to base reality on evidence in a court case, why couldn't we use evidence to find out other things like what the earth was like before we were here?
well, that would be that's science, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
So not necessarily philosophical or abstract.
um, well, I ask that question again. Let me
I
think
don't know
about
if I can. I guess I'm wondering why evidence is an okay thing to use in court to find out what truth is or what is likely true,
Yeah.
but it's not sufficient to
Ah,
use
yeah.
for other things. Like
Well,
what
okay, yeah,
makes it?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
go
Well, let
ahead.
me tell you where I'm at on this thing. I've spent 45 years trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. Okay.
Yeah.
And I've come up dry. I mean, I've really come to the conclusion that the whole damn thing is just very mysterious, and that I've been able to come up with some good stories that I can't justify. I mean, my Bob story. I mean, it's a nice story. I
Hmm.
can't. That's not based on, well, it's based on my life's experience, I guess, but I mean, there's no evidence for that whatsoever. It's just, I like the story. It makes sense to me, but I don't think I think there are domains where evidence and language just fail completely. That language itself, I mean, it's not really evidence, but language itself is a powerful tool, maybe the most powerful thing we have, and yet it just doesn't apply in some domains.
Hmm. It's the best tool we have, um, but it's not a perfect tool.
There you go. Yeah,
And
it's
until we
but
find better tools, we're going to use this one because it's the one that uh, is the best one we've got so
it's
far that we know
it's
of.
all we have as far, well, it's not all we have, but certainly, yeah, language is just the most amazing miracle in the universe, or one of them anyway. And but it's still, it's just little puffs of air that we blow
Hmm.
out of our mouth.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really very mysterious. I mean, language, when you think about it, is really a sort of transcendent mystery that I'm here where I am blowing air out of my mouth in certain patterns, and you're wherever you are getting those puffs of air in your ear, and ideas showing up in your head, and then vice versa. I mean, if that isn't crazy, it's an amazing thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I guess another way we can look at this, and this might be similar to the court thing, is if we can't agree that there is some reality, whether we have access to it or not,
Hmm.
um, then how could we ever solve any dispute that we would have? Because if I were to break in to your house and take your zebra rug, um, and I say it's my reality that this zebra rug belongs to me. How could we solve that dispute if we don't agree that there is a likelihood of truth being there or
Yeah.
reality?
Well, you and I probably couldn't resolve that. This would be a court case. You and
Yeah.
I probably couldn't resolve it. If you're convinced that it's your rug and that somehow I ended up in its possession and that it's your rug, and I'm saying no, I bought it, at Kmart.
Hmm.
Well, then and if I confront you and you don't want to give it back to me and you want to fight and I don't want to fight, so then I would take you to court.
Hmm.
We'll see what they say, and they'll come up with some decision. You or I will be unhappy with that decision, and we may never reconcile it between you and I if you're really believing what you're saying, as opposed to just coming up with something to justify the fact that you stole my rug.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I guess that makes me wonder, you know, would are you convinced that it's possible for the decision that the court makes is closer to a reality than my um, interpretation of it?
Well, closer to a reality again. There's that
Yeah,
word. Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right.
Well, if I have a memory of going to Kmart and buying the rug,
Hmm.
and
And you had the receipt
yeah,
with the
I
date
got
on it.
I got a receipt. That's right. And my friends went with me when I bought it and said yes,
Hmm.
that my rug and this rug has a stain where I drunkenly spilled some wine on it, and
Yeah, and we have video
everybody,
evidence from Kmart
yeah,
showing,
yeah,
you going in and yeah,
yeah, and the whole thing. That's again, this all relates to court cases, though. You know,
right.
I mean,
Evidence.
but if you have this idea in your head. See, I'm just trying to figure out who this guy, you, if in this case, snuck into my house and took it. I mean, do
Hmm.
you admit that you came into my house and got it, but it's really your rug somehow? Or are you claiming, no, you didn't come into my house, you got the rug separately? What's your story in this thing?
Yeah, yeah. I'm wondering why you would be convinced that I'm mistaken thinking that it's my rug.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'd have to hear your story. What's your story? Uh,
Uh, yeah, no, it's definitely mine. That's my reality. That's my truth. Everybody has their own truth. So,
Yeah. So your story is that somehow that I stole it from you originally or something? Is that what your story would be?
um,
That you went to Kmart
I,
actually and bought it yourself, and then I somehow snuck into your house and stole
yeah, that could be my story. Why would I be mistaken?
it. Well, it may be that you're just an evil person, or it could be that you're fucking crazy, or there are a number of possibilities, or maybe I'm crazy.
Why would you not accept that my reality is just as real as yours in that case?
Well, in your head, I'm sure it is. If you're crazy, like I say, but we're all
Hmm.
crazy. Again, we all tend to be stuck in our stories, in our own.
Hmm.
So I could admit that you actually believe this story you're telling. It's quite different than mine. And
Yeah.
uh, and again, see, I don't think there isn't. I don't know. These are good questions. You're getting me to struggle with this.
Well, as long as I mean, I don't want to make you uncomfortable
No, I love
necessarily.
being uncomfortable.
Okay.
It's not
Okay.
often that people get me uncomfortable. So,
Yeah. Well, part of street epistemology is kind of checking in and making sure that you still have informed consent. So I guess that's my way
yeah, yeah.
of
No,
doing
I
it.
know most people don't like being put on the spot, but I
Hmm.
very seldom get feel like I've gotten put on the spot, and you're good at this.
Well, I appreciate your conversation. Um, I find it really easy to talk to you too. So I think we're in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
same
you can
ballpark.
push me as hard as you want, man. I enjoy it.
That's one of the criticisms that I get about my style is that, and I kind of went through this on one of the last videos I put up, was that um, I have a tendency to earn and acquire rapport coins, but I never spend them. And people have told me, you should try spending some of that rapport points that you've earned.
Well, you're too
Um,
easy on people, they're saying, or what?
yeah, yeah, like I don't push hard, like back hard,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and it,
What do
I'm
you
just
think about what do you think about that criticism?
about the criticism.
Yeah, what do you think
I
about it?
I
Do
see
you
value.
agree? Yeah, go ahead.
I see value in what they're saying, but I think it's more of a personality trait
Ah.
that I just maybe need to work on. I see
Well,
myself
do you
as like,
think you need to work on it though? I mean, or do you think that what you're doing is pretty much as good, is appropriate?
well, I'll tell you this. We had an interesting room last night. It was an experiment that I've been wanting to conduct for a long time, and the experiment was, can I do a productive SE conversation without knowing what the claim is? Because and that kind of
Oh yeah. Well,
demonstrates
that's
the
what we're doing right now, actually, isn't
well, the thing is though is that my conversation partner had a claim,
it?
and they back channeled it to my facilitator so that he would not be able to change the claim mid
Ah,
conversation.
oh, this is interesting. And how did that go? So wait a minute,
Yeah,
wait a minute, wait a
it,
minute, wait a minute. So he has a claim, but you don't know what the claim is. But then, so what's your procedure? What's your point in this conversation then?
well, it's to emphasize the importance of focusing on the person's epistemology on how they arrived at the claim and not on the claim itself. Um,
So how did
wh-
that go?
I thought it went really well, um, and I got some really good feedback. And where I'm going with this was that the only criticisms that I got was that there was an excessive amount of rapport building. And I guess if
Do
that's
you
the
think that's
main
partly
criticism,
because you
I'm
didn't
okay
know?
with that.
Do you think that was because you didn't know what? I mean, if you don't know what the claim is, I don't even know how you can proceed. That must have been very interesting.
Well, it's in replays. It was last night, and the point of that whole thing was the questions are the same, no matter what the claim is.
Oh,
I
that's
don't need to I don't need to know
ah
what the claim is for them to explore how they arrived at the claim.
okay yeah, right, of course, yeah.
So it's like, how confident are you that the claim is true? Uh, what's the level of importance for you to have an accurate view
Yeah.
of reality? How much does this claim affect your
And
behavior? What's the main
were you
reason?
able to get through this without knowing what the claim was? I mean, did you
Yes.
begin to get some ideas of what the claim was, or
Um, I had they revealed the claim at the end, and I had no clue what the claim is.
okay?
But that wasn't the point. I wasn't trying to find out what the
No,
claim
I know, but
was.
I was just curious whether or
Yeah.
not you actually had some sort of idea about what kind of claim. So
No, I
so
had
how did
no
it go
idea.
then? How did it work out?
We went through it, and my questions would have been the same whether I had known the claim or not. That's the
Yeah,
whole
right.
idea.
And the person you were talking to, were they known to you, or were they a stranger, or what?
Um, we've talked a little bit before. He practices street epistemology, and I think that helped because I would never do that with a stranger. It was just an experiment that I wanted. that I
Yeah.
wanted to
Why
have.
wouldn't you do it with a stranger? I'm thinking it might be even better with a stranger.
Well, it could be. And part of that is taking my ego out of how I view the claim to begin with.
Yeah. 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 If you're sympathetic to it or you think it's ridiculous.
Right.
Uh, but of course, the questions, well, but you still got a tone of voice. It's kind of hard to get rid of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, what's the main reason? Why is that a good reason? If that reason wasn't available, how would that affect how confident you are in it?
Yeah.
The questions, the conclusion is that my hypothesis is correct. You The claim isn't necessary in order for the
Yeah.
interlocutor to examine the epistemology.
Well, I'm thinking this might be interested in real, regular uh, SE interviews where you have them write down their claim but not tell you what it is.
Right, right. Write it down,
And,
fold it up,
and then we'll
put
look
it aside.
look at it later. Yeah. And then
Yeah,
just, yeah. And that would, in some sense, clear you of any prejudices in their
exactly.
mind, because you don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah, that
Exactly.
might be a good strategy, actually. And
So,
having them write it down is
right.
important too, because in writing it down, you have to finalize the words you're using. When you're talking, you can sort of hedge things around and change it, and
Right.
but when you write it down, you're committing yourself to a certain group of words.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, exactly. And you're kind of stuck to it. You
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
you can't,
Change it later. Well, you can't
change it.
do it halfway through it and go, wait a minute, I want to I want to change that. But that would be
Yeah.
okay too. You could have them write down version two of the claim.
Sure, yeah, if they want to adjust it,
Yeah, then and then you
that
have three, but keep a record of these changes
yeah.
and
And
see how
that would
that.
be a sign that they're giving it more thought.
Absolutely, I think I like this idea. I think it's a good idea.
Well, like I said, it's on replays. I'm gonna make a video of it eventually. If you're interested in it, that would be an example of that strategy. So,
Yeah.
um, it's hard though because as we're listening to replays, there's a bunch of other rooms that are happening right now that I could be, you know, participating in. So I can understand why, somebody wouldn't necessarily want to go back and listen to it, but it's there uh, in for whoever wants to drink from that spring.
Well, listen, I record all of my stuff and I publish it all up to the Internet Archive, and it's there. If anybody wants to listen to it, great. And if not, I don't really care.
Yeah, yeah. It's a spring. Whoever wants to come drink from it, they're free to.
Well, I see it. I record my stuff basically for future anthropologists.
Hmm.
I'm thinking, wouldn't it be interesting if we had recordings of people in Boston in 1773
Yeah,
at pubs talking about the political and social situation of life in 1773?
yeah.
If we had recordings of those now, wouldn't that be interesting?
Would you listen to it?
Oh yeah, I would think. Well, if I was a historian, I would, and even yeah, even if yes, if I could have recordings of people's conversations from even 100 or 200 years ago, I'd love to just listen to how language worked.
Mm.
The way they
Hmm.
talked. I think that would be fascinating.
Yeah, even just on that level, getting a glimpse on how people used what we would call the same language that we use now, but
Yeah,
it's
no, it's not the
vastly
same.
different.
Yeah, yeah, it's not the same language at all.
Yeah, I assume you've listened to people speak in Old English.
Oh, I've heard it. Yeah, yeah, I've
Yeah, I have no idea what they're saying.
No. Well, listen, I listened to movies that were made in the 1930s, and
Hmm.
it's stunning, really. The assumptions that underlie the language and their attitudes and their I mean, I find them really difficult to take seriously.
Yeah.
it's just like their motivate. I don't really understand their really superficial motivations and lack of self understanding. And
Hmm.
I mean, the situations that they get in, they're supposed to be so dire, and it just is so obvious, what bullshit they got running in their language machines. But they seem to accept this as reasonable, stories. It's fascinating.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember signing up, but for some reason I get these emails every day about like a word of the day and it
Uh-huh.
gives the definition. But it also, if you scroll down, it gives you a timeline and history and when the word was used the most. And it
Yeah.
kind of gives you like a line that's like, okay, well, this word was used a lot in like 1870, but then it kind of dropped off and people don't use it anymore, that kind of thing. So it kind of goes along the same lines as that.
Yeah, I've had that same thing. I don't get it now, but I got that for years, and I never knew why I was getting it. I didn't remember ever signing up for it, but now
Right.
I get it.
Yeah. Do you want to go on to another question?